If one day all excavators in the world suddenly disappeared and only one model was allowed to keep working, the most likely one to remain would probably be Komatsu's PC200. From the snowy fields of Hokkaido in Japan, to the rainforests of Brazil, from urban construction sites in China to mining areas in Africa. From the deserts of Dubai to the farmlands of Ukraine, you can see it almost everywhere. In the engineering industry, there is a joke that there are actually only two types of excavators in the world. One is called PC200, and the other is anything that is not a PC200. This is of course an exaggeration, but it does reflect the long-standing position of the PC200 in the construction machinery industry for decades. So how did it all begin? The story goes back to the late 1970s. At that time, the global construction machinery industry faced an awkward problem. 12-ton small machines were too slow for real work, 30-ton machines were too expensive to transport, and 40-ton giants were too large and heavy for many job sites to even enter. Contractors were hoping for a machine that could be transported on a single trailer, could load trucks, build roads, dig trenches, and even work in mines, basically a universal machine that could do everything. So in 1979, Komatsu introduced the first generation of PC200, a 20-ton class platform. At that time, no one expected that this platform would go on to dominate the entire industry for more than 40 years. Next, we follow the family line and see how each generation evolved. The first generation was the PC200-1. Still the era of pure mechanics, with almost no electronic systems, so maintenance was very simple. Even today, you can still see it working in Southeast Asia. By the second generation, the hydraulic system was improved, operation became smoother, and failure rates decreased. This generation also began large-scale export. The third and fourth generations further opened up the international market, with more comfortable cabins, faster movements, and stronger structural components. Many countries first encountered Komatsu machines through these two generations. Then came the golden era. The fifth generation is considered by many experienced operators to be the true ancestor of the modern PC200 because its hydraulic system became mature. The engine was reliable and maintenance costs were low. The sixth generation is often called the most classic version. Where electronics began to appear, fuel consumption decreased, and the machine became more comfortable to operate. Even today, many used PC206 machines are still working in Africa. The seventh generation entered the global expansion period and was also one of the most successful models in the Chinese market. It had fast movement, strong power, and high durability. Many construction contractors made their first real profit using a PC207. The 8th generation became a legend. It is one of the highest population models of the PC200 series globally, with good fuel efficiency, mature hydraulics, and widely available spare parts. In many countries, when people think of a used excavator, the default image is the PC200-8. In this generation, there is also an M0 version known as PC200-8 M0, which can be understood as a cost-optimized version for civil engineering. It reduces configuration complexity and purchase costs while keeping the core performance. It is especially suitable for earth moving, municipal work, and road construction. This M0 concept continued into later generations, and in the 11th generation there's also the PC211 M0, which follows the same idea of reducing cost and complexity while keeping core capability. The 9th generation is a transitional model with relatively limited market presence. In many regions, users directly moved from the PC200-8 to the PC210. The 10th generation marked the beginning of the intelligent era. Emission standards were upgraded, and it introduced the KOMTRAX remote monitoring system, improving fuel efficiency further. The 11th generation was released in 2017, using new emission control and machine control technologies. Komatsu officially stated that fuel consumption was reduced by about 6% compared to the previous generation. This generation also features automatic idle shutdown. more complex electronic control systems, and improved diagnostic functions. At this point, some beginners may be confused by the letters in the model names, such as LC. LC stands for long carriage. In simple terms, almost every generation of the standard PC200 has a corresponding LC version, from PC200 LC6, PC200 LC7, PC200 LC8, all the way to PC200 LC10 and PC200 LC11, including their M0 versions such as PC200 LC8 M0, PC200 LC10 M0, and PC200 LC11 M0. The rule is the same. Machines with LC have a longer undercarriage, which means they are more stable, have a larger ground contact area, and are better suited for soft ground conditions and heavy digging work. The trade-off is that turning resistance is higher, the machine is larger, and transportation is slightly more difficult. In simple terms, the standard version focuses on flexibility and easy transport, while the LC version focuses on stability and strength. There is also another category with a lowercase I, such as PC200i11 and its long undercarriage version, PC200 LCI11. The I stands for Intelligent Machine Control. In other words, the I series also comes in both standard and LC versions. The I represents the brain, while LC represents the body, and they can be combined. Komatsu began applying this technology to excavators in 2014, and later developed it into MSE 2.0. Its core function is to use satellite positioning to automatically control digging depth and slope, and to prevent overdigging. In simple terms, in the past, shaping slopes relied entirely on the experience of skilled operators, but now it is controlled by satellites and computers. By 2023, Komatsu had more than 14,000 IMC machines worldwide, with over 40 million operating hours. There is also a historically important machine in the family called the PC200-8 Hybrid. It is a hybrid version derived from the 8th generation, when it was launched in 2008. Komatsu described it as the world's first hybrid hydraulic excavator. Its working principle is interesting. When the upper structure slows down during swing, energy is recovered and stored in a capacitor. And when acceleration is needed again, an electric motor assists the engine. In official tests, fuel consumption can be reduced by up to 40%, while in real working conditions, the typical savings are around 25%. Many people think hybrid technology started in the automotive industry. But Komatsu actually explored hybrid systems in construction machinery earlier than many car manufacturers. If we organize all of this, we can see that the PC200 family grows along three main lines. The first is the main generational line, from the first generation to the 11th generation, where electronics and intelligence gradually increase and emissions become stricter. The second is the undercarriage branch, with standard and LC versions appearing in almost every generation. One focuses on flexibility, the other on stability. The third is the customer-oriented branch. Standard models move upward in configuration. M0 versions reduce cost and complexity for civil engineering. I-Series adds satellite-based intelligent control on top. And hybrid represents an early bold experiment in electrification. The generation defines the era, while the suffix defines the purpose. So the question is, why can the PC200 dominate the world? The answer is very simple. It can do almost everything. The 20-ton class sits in the golden range of construction machinery. It can dig foundations, load trucks, build roads, clean rivers, and support mining operations, while still being affordable to transport. One machine covering so many roles is exactly what contractors want. On construction sites, there are many classic conversations around this machine. When the boss asks what machine to buy, experienced operators often say, "When you do not know what to buy, just buy a PC200. When a used equipment dealer is asked how the machine is, he replies, "Is it a PC200? If the answer is yes, then the conversation continues. When a project is urgent, the equipment manager simply says, "Just get a PC200 on site first." Over decades, it has become an industry consensus. As for user feedback, the global opinion is very consistent. The advantages are reliability, fuel efficiency, easy maintenance, high resale value, and wide parts availability. The disadvantages also exist. Its movements are not as aggressive as Caterpillar machines, and as electronics become more complex over time, original parts can become expensive. Common issues vary by generation. The 6th generation often has hydraulic pump wear and valve block aging. The 7th generation mainly suffers from electrical aging and display failures. The 8th generation often experiences EGR carbon buildup and sensor issues. In the 10th and 11th generations, due to stricter emission regulations, after-treatment systems require more maintenance, and emission-related fault codes appear more frequently. However, when it comes to service and maintenance, this is one of the biggest strengths of the PC200 around the world, Komatsu dealers. Aftermarket parts and dismantled components are widely available. In some countries, you may not even find Caterpillar parts easily, but you can still find PC200 parts everywhere. There is a joke among mechanics: if you cannot repair a PC200, you are almost not qualified to say you are an excavator mechanic. In the used equipment market, the dominance of the PC200 is also extremely strong. It is widely regarded as one of the most liquid models in the global second-hand market, especially the 6th, 7th, and 8th generations, which are considered true hard currency machines. A typical flow path is Japan to China, then to Southeast Asia, and finally to Africa. Many machines continue working even after more than 20,000 operating hours. Strictly speaking, Komatsu does not publish market share data specifically for the PC200 model. However, in the global 20-ton class market, its main competitors are the Caterpillar 320, Hitachi ZX200, Kobelco SK200, and Volvo EC220. The PC200 platform is widely regarded as one of the highest volume 20-ton platforms in the world. There is also an interesting phenomenon here. Many models disappear over time, but the PC200 has not from 1979 to today. The numbers have changed from 1 to 11, but the core idea has never changed: to build a 20-ton excavator that operators want to drive, owners want to buy, mechanics want to repair, and dealers want to trade. So in the end, if we summarize it, we can say this: if the Caterpillar 320 represents power and performance, and the Hitachi X200 represents a golden era for Hitachi, then the Komatsu PC200 represents something much rarer in the construction equipment world: balance. It may not be the strongest, not the fastest, and not the most advanced, but it is very likely the most successful, most profitable, and most widely used 20-ton excavator platform in the world over the past 40 years.